Welcome back to your second episode today of the Own It Show, where we are helping uncommon knowledge become common and inspiring conscious entrepreneurs to put people over profits so that we can birth the new earth and make those old systems obsolete so that we can actually do what's in the highest good of all. And as you know, we love to bring on conscious entrepreneurs to inspire you to own your greatness. And we have a special guest here today, Rebekah, and I will let her totally introduce herself and all about her and what she's up to in the entrepreneur world. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. So I'm Rebekah Eisner. I own the Hollywood Health Guru. I'm a life transformation coach. I work with creatives who feel like they've had to put their creativity on hold. I help them stop the voices in their head so that they can start living their destiny.
I love that. I love that. So good, because it's time to stop living by default, right?
Yes.
Time to live and create that destiny. So I'm so grateful for that. So we know entrepreneurship is a journey and it's fun and we have to burn the boats. There is no failure. We just keep plugging forward, but we really want to inspire people to take that journey, because when we are, I believe owning it is being an entrepreneur, because then you get to create life by design. How much you're worth, when you want to work, when you don't want to work, you want to take a 4-week vacation. Hey, take a 4-week vacation. Ask your boss. You're your boss. So we want to inspire people to own that journey. So why don't you share a little bit about what your entrepreneur journey has been like and where you're headed?
Yeah. So when I was a stay-at-home mom for 20 years and raised our 3 beautiful daughters and took care of my husband who got chronically ill in 2010. So I always saw my role as the support person in our relationship, and I saw him as the breadwinner. But with him getting chronically ill and then having some of his work stuff fall apart, I had to start questioning myself and asking myself where those beliefs came from and why I thought I was only the support person and not good at making money. And so I had to go through the process of letting go of limiting beliefs and stop putting my own potential on hold and waiting for other people to take care of me. And so that's what has inspired me to now do that for other people.
I love that. And this show is so much fun because we have entrepreneurs from all walks of life. We have people who started corporate, who started stay-at-home moms. We have people who've had businesses that went bankrupt and now they're multi-7-figure owners. Like, I just love it. There's so much inspiration here. We can inspire everybody. See, anybody can start a business. You just got to believe in yourself. But for often we don't, especially for women. We also know for women, it's a totally different story. That wasn't the thing you were told. You weren't told, right, grow up and build a business and support your family. That wasn't normally the old message, correct?
Correct.
So we have some paradigms to write a little bit more than some of the gentlemen. So I give a double hats off to any female entrepreneur who's truly breaking the paradigms and the glass ceilings. And so now what do you do with your clients? You're working one-on-one, you said, and building a flagship program. And what are the some of the results you help your clients get?
So I work with people to develop, I believe that all health is rooted in self-love. And so my goal is to help people get rid of those voices that are limiting them and to get rid of blockages and to get in tune with their inner self so that they can grow and flourish into who they ultimately are.
I love that. And I'm assuming you're familiar with Louise Hay.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, so I was like, you very much remind me of her calm, gentle energy. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I have the spiritual and the health background. So I bring those two together.
Absolutely. And I think that's where we align. People know me. I started as a kinesiologist and then nutritionist, and I had multiple health issues. And every doctor was like, well, you're the best that you could be, or that's all I can help you with. And I just was not willing to accept that as my quality of life. And hence how I found studying advanced spiritual training and theta healing so that I could heal myself and actually have a quality of life that I want to live the rest of the life out as. And that took leaving just working in the physical and beginning to work with the metaphysical. And theta healing truly changed my life. I did a theta healing meditation for 3 days in a row, and I was running and doing weights that I hadn't been able to do in 3 years.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it really was. I
Mhm.
interviewed Ainsley, who's my friend in the theta healer, the other day on our Instagram channel, because she's been on our show, and I literally was trying not to cry, just thinking
Oh.
about what could have been if I
Mhm.
didn't start working with the health and the spiritual side, and what
And
could have
yeah.
not been.
And waiting around for other people to make you healthy. It sounds like you took control of your health rather than waiting for other people. And I think that's huge.
Absolutely.
No
Absolutely.
blame. We can't blame other people or else we're going to stay stuck.
Yeah, owning the health, owning our
Mhm.
health. And also came to mind as you were speaking. So in our nutrition school, we study the psychology of disease, Dr. Bruce Lipton's work. So the study of
Mhm.
epigenetics. And we all know that every single thought has a physiological response now. That is a proven science. And
Mhm.
we also know that disease starts in the mind. It's a
Mhm.
dis-ease.
Yes.
So we actually, I know for a lot of people, we don't want to take that on because we don't want to take the responsibility for our health or that we helped create these problems. And I just always want to say there's no make wrong. There's
Mhm.
nothing bad or wrong. It's just accepting the responsibility that there is something more that we could do, and there's a learning here for us. And we need to, learn that learning so we can come back to our healthy self. Otherwise, if we just continue to ignore what's actually the root cause, not the
Mhm.
symptoms,
Right.
then it just gets worse, or it's a constant cycle of chaos, trauma, pain.
Mhm.
And I lived in that chronic pain cycle, and it's not a
Mhm.
nice place to be. So I truly believe you must look at yourself as a whole: mind, body, soul, spirit.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I tried the whole thing. I have all the degrees and certifications and all the physical health healing, but
Right.
it wasn't enough.
Yeah, I believe it all starts actually in the gut. In our journey, we did have to start with the gut because my husband, being sick with chronic Lyme disease in 2010, getting diagnosed, it was so scary. And we had the best Lyme doctor, thankfully, that we could find. He was the president of the International Lyme's Association. And he would help my husband get better. But if something traumatic would happen, he would get sick again. And so one time a friend asked him to help move a piece of heavy furniture. And my husband knew that he shouldn't, but he did. And he fell. And then it triggered the Lyme again. So this would happen. And then he would be on the couch for months, not being able to do anything. And finally, we took control of our health by healing our guts. And that was the beginning, I think, for me of if our guts aren't healthy, our intuition can't be as good either. So learning to heal our guts because we have 100,000 or 100 million nerve cells in our guts, and that our guts connect to our brain. So that, I don't know, that was the beginning for us.
100%. And so I want to lean into that a bit, and I could go a little bit deeper into my story. So I died multiple times at birth. I had E. coli
Wow.
poisoning, and it was the gut. And so then I had health issues. This is why I study human kinetics and nutrition, and no one could heal me. I had to figure it out myself. So when I was about 12, my parents put me into a study at UFT to try to discover what was happening. And if I showed you a picture of me at the beginning of that year and a picture of me at the end of the year, you wouldn't believe that's the same child.
Mm.
I was a competitive figure skater, yet I looked like Kirby's Dream Land, which if you ever played that video game, boy, or like the Michelin Man, however you want to describe
Yeah.
it. I was just this inflamed ball that had mood issues, sleep issues, bladder issues. And I saw a bladder specialist every year until I was 12, until I did this study. And when they did it, they measured, everything had to be tracked: food, diet, behavior, bowel movements, bladder, bedwetting, everything for 3 months. And it all came down to they removed sugar and dairy. And it
Wow.
wasn't until I realized later, because I re-abused myself through university and was quite unhealthy after. And again, my doctor said, "You're the healthiest person I'll see all day. What do you want me to do?" And I thought, this isn't quality of life. I wake up swollen. I feel like I'm in my own pressure chamber. My eyes are swollen shut. I can't breathe. I've got eczema. Like it was just a whole mess. And I was like, this is healthy. I'm the healthiest person you're going to see all day. Then this is not healthcare. This is medical stuff. And at that point, I started diving so much deeper. I found an alternative nutrition school. I went there, healed myself, healed my gut. And it took a few years to do the full gut healing, but there was a point where I basically lived off smoothies. I would throw up if I had dairy or gluten. It was wild. And it wasn't until I healed, and still am healing. It's still a journey. It wasn't until I worked on that gut, which is, they say your second brain, but we now know it's your first brain. So I even had a girl in my nutrition school, I'm in my class, so amazing, healed her child off the autistic spectrum.
Wow.
Via healing their gut.
That's amazing.
Right. So that's the magic when we take the holistic approach. Because if I had just followed doctor's guidelines, I'm not sure the quality of life I would have been set up for would have been a kind quality of life. Right. So that gut is, if anyone's listening, GI Revive is my favorite gut supplement. It was that one. There's so many things and there's so many protocols and all the things, but that supplement is so amazing for gut healing. So dive in if anyone ever wants to try the GI Revive, and you're welcome, whoever owns that company. It's designed.
Is that a probiotic or?
No, it is the everything.
Okay.
It's got the L-glutamine, the marshmallow. It's literally a slew of gut healing. You would need the reinoculation. So you would need your probiotic, and then you would also do something to help kill the bad bacteria. And then that is your healing. So the GI Revive then heals the gut lining.
Okay.
Yeah, my favorite supplement, and really found it made a big difference for me. That was the turning point when I could start to really enjoy a lot more food again.
Yeah. L-glutamine was huge for me too, I think, with being able to eat more without getting sick.
Exactly. Yeah. Not being afraid of food is great.
Yeah, because I didn't even realize I had gut issues until we did this. And then I started feeling better and healed my own chronic constipation that I had from my childhood, and healed. I was always scatterbrained. I don't know. I never got diagnosed as ADHD, but I always had brain fog, was scatterbrained, had depression, anxiety, so many things. And when I healed my gut, all of that went away. And even my daughters they were in elementary school, I think when we started this, elementary, middle, they all resisted, but I was like, okay, I'm not cooking multiple meals. You're going to be doing this too. And they all feel better, and they're out of the house now, and they still eat really healthy because they saw the benefits too. So
they're so lucky to have you. I'm a little bit of a hothead. So I literally was saying to my sister yesterday, it drives me nuts when kids get set up for failure because their parents kill them with food.
I know. It's too bad.
It is too bad. And my sister's so kind. Everyone's just doing the best that they can. And I said, I know, but that child didn't get a choice.
Right.
They didn't get a choice. And I'm so grateful my parents did whatever it took to help me. And thank God, because by the end of that study and having the diet change, you could grate cheese off my house, where before I looked like
amazing
dreamland. And I just made me realize that I'm not the only person that's out there who's living like that, and how many other young girls are constipated, have UTIs all the time, have acne, are bloated, inflamed,
focus at school.
Have ADD, right? Turns out no.
Right. I accidentally had gluten recently. Not accidentally. Our neighbor made some sourdough bread, and I was like, I'll try it. It might work. And I got so scatterbrained. I was like, okay, this is why I don't do this. I felt so confused.
It's interesting. Yeah. It really is. And I believe it's what we do most of the time that counts. So I like to indulge here and there, and I did. And I literally the same thing. I was trying to do a teaching, and I was like, what is up?
Yeah.
And then I got after, and I was like, you ate gluten yesterday. It must be. Nothing else is different.
Right. And someone told me you only rip yourself off when you eat it, because it takes 6 months to get out of your system and for the villi the lining in your intestines to heal again.
Oh,
So
I
know.
Okay, I got you intestines. I got all the supplements in the fridge. We're going to be okay. And so what would be some of your tips and in your zone of genius to help people marry the two, the health and the spiritual practice, to get the results?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think the way that we treat ourselves, and especially healing our guts, I think is huge because of the connection to our brain. We want that to be healthy because that's where our intuition is in our gut. And I think the more we can listen to ourselves, we can heal our relationships, and we can heal our relationship with everything around us if we know how to tune into ourselves and love ourselves. And I believe that does start with eating healthy, in my opinion. But yeah, so the more we can nurture our guts, nurture ourselves, and make ourselves a portal of love. I know that sounds really funny.
Beautiful.
Like almost woo-woo. But yeah, if we're loving ourselves, nurturing ourselves, and learning to listen to ourselves, then that's going to impact everything we do. A big thing I talk about is relationships a lot, especially on TikTok. That's kind of my biggest platform. But I think the more that we have a good relationship with ourselves, then we can communicate so much better with everyone else. And even if we're used to toxic relationships, I think we can heal that by healing our relationship with ourselves.
100%. 150%. We have a psycho-cybernetics operating system. We have a self-image of who we are, and we are our own glass ceiling. And that self-image tells us what we're worth, what kind of love we're willing to receive, the amount of money we're willing to receive, the amount of impact we're allowing ourselves to have. And I remember when I was working in Bob Proctor's masterclass, and I had this aha moment where I thought, you want to double your income this month. The only reason you're not is because you don't believe you're worth it. And so I spent 2 weeks on self-love and just joy and sending gratitude cards to all my clients. My dad and I would drink wine and go look at Christmas lights and just have a grand old time. And I doubled my income. And I went,
that's amazing.
What have I been doing wrong?
Yeah, so good.
And it was just a few weeks of just focusing self-love, self-care, gratitude, be in abundant energy, and work on you. And literally took 3 weeks off and doubled my income.
Yeah, so you became that portal for yourself of love.
And so how would you recommend people develop that portal of self-love?
Well, in my program, I do start with the gut because I think that's the number one place to start. And then just learning to tune in and listen. So when I'm in a conversation with my partner, or my kids, rather than just reacting to what they say, actually stopping and allowing myself to listen to myself first is huge. So whether that's going and journaling, to saying, I need to go think about this for a minute. I'm going to go journal so I can think this through. Or if I just have a conversation with myself, just what am I really feeling here? Why do I want to react? What might they be feeling? Am I assuming something? And actually asking them, what are you feeling? I just think it's self-mentoring, learning to listen to ourselves and talk to ourselves before just reacting is huge.
Well, that's amazing. And I know that you make it sound really easy. And
it takes practice.
Yeah, and I know it's way harder than you think. So do you have some kind of magical tactic, like count back from 5 or count to 5?
Yeah.
And like, what do you do?
Well, I remember just when I got married pretty young. My husband and I were in our early 20s. We had kids early, like we did everything really early. But I just remember being in the car, like we were so bad at communicating at first, but we'd be talking and I would just be fuming internally. And I just remember staring out the window and just like fuming to myself internally, just saying everything to myself that I was mad about. And then it actually calmed me down. And then I could actually talk to him in a better way too. So just whatever technique works for you, or like I would go journal. I would go say like, I'm going to go journal for a little bit. Then I could work through what I wanted to say, and I could say it so much more clearly and concisely. So that's a huge one. And just develop that relationship with yourself, whatever that looks like.
So to actually think and process first.
Tune in.
So get used to pausing, create the habit of pausing, thinking, processing, and then responding, not reacting.
And assume the best. I think we villainize other people so
and
often.
Ourselves.
And ourselves. Yeah, my daughter says that to me still. She's like, Mom, like, be kinder to yourself. I'm like, okay, you're right.
What a great mirror to have.
Making my TikTok videos and then getting mad at myself. She's like, Mom, be nice to yourself. I'm like, okay. So
taught you well.
They teach me too. But yeah, I think assuming we all write our own stories, we all have our own perspective of how we see things. And I think we actually live on different dimensions a lot of times. So it's learning to like meet people on the dimension they are, rather than just being like, why are you so mad? Like maybe they're not mad. Maybe they're just tired, or they're distracted, or they're having a hard day and they're just saying it in a way that sounds more abrasive. It's just learning to listen to other people too. But I think that starts with learning to listen to ourselves first.
Absolutely. I love that. Amazing. What's another tip you have for our audience today?
So with my daughters, this was huge. I learned this from Esther Hicks. Having downstream thoughts rather than upstream thoughts. So rather than kind of going against the flow of everything and always like assuming the negative, the downstream thoughts are more positive thoughts. With my daughters, I used to always assume the worst, like be safe, like don't do this. I would focus on their negative traits, like, oh, this daughter always loses things, or this, whatever. I just learned to assume the best of them. And so when they call me freaked out, like my daughter's car broke down and she was stranded, and she was in another state, so I couldn't do anything. So I've just learned to say, I trust you because you're so wise. I've seen you handle situations like this before, and I know you're going to handle this. And all of a sudden their confidence rises and they realize like, okay, yeah, I can handle this. So I think the way we come to our relationships, if we can assume the best about people, then they're going to rise up to that too, rather than always assuming the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best. And I just kind of flip it even. One thing that when I started studying NLP practices that changed my life was expectations. So then we also have expectations of how other people should behave, quote unquote, should behave. And when they don't behave the way we believe they should, or in our dimension, right, on our dimension or in our realm of reality, then we get mad at them. But guess what? They're not mad. They're just doing their own thing. Life is good over there. And we're over here boiling because they didn't meet our expectations. And yet they didn't even know what our expectation was. There was no communication.
Right.
And so just releasing expectations and accepting people for who they are. And
yeah, that's so good.
Being able to communicate that. So instead of assuming the worst, that person's over there doing that because this, that, and the other thing, that story we want to tell, it's actually going, oh, well, I have an expectation they behave that way and they just didn't. And that's also okay. And if I did want them to do that this way next time, maybe I could communicate it to them and then they would know. That's that living, side by side in your own parallel universe. The wife's going, oh my God, he leaves the socks on the floor. I'm so mad at him. And he's going, she looks so mad. I bet you it's because I didn't fill the car up with gas. And they're both like sitting there, but no one actually talked or communicated, and everyone just had different expectations and stories. And so in our community, we actually give that negative voice a name.
Wow.
So that we can be aware of the feeling that behavior brings up, so that then we can go, oh, I'm behaving. That's Sally. So I call her Sally. The limiting belief system, the negative ego, the expectations, all those things, we give it a name. And so I name her Sally. That's mine. So then when we're in a community, say like with my sister, if I'm behaving like that, she can go, oh, hey, tell Sally to sit the F down.
I love that.
And then we can do that for each other when we're not coming from a response, if we're being reactionary, or if our ego is speaking, or we aren't having the best assumptions of people, then we can actually identify that for each other. So we love to name it.
Yeah. And I love how that brings some humor into it too.
Yeah.
You can blame Sally instead of yourself.
And we joke, we're like, now imagine Sally was your friend. Imagine she talked to you that way. Would you be friends with Sally? You probably wouldn't be friends.
Right.
You would tell her to hit the
You
road.
would leave, Sally. You're ruining my portal.
You're ruining
my loving portal.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So what's one more tip that you can give to the audience today? So if you think like the best thing that helps people is, that self-love journey, what's a great tip to either avoid the pitfalls or just go straight to the self-love?
So when I would say back in those days when I saw myself as the support person and my husband as the provider, I was actually not taking responsibility. I was actually blaming him for if his business wasn't going as well or whatever. I would blame him rather than thinking, how can I contribute? So taking 100% responsibility for ourselves, I think, is huge rather than blaming, because otherwise we're making ourselves a victim and saying that we're not okay unless if they do this for us. And that just actually keeps us stuck in the same place. So being able to say, okay, this isn't working. So what can I do right now that could bring change to this situation? And it frees them. Now it's like, okay, you do what you need to, but I'm going to do what I need to. And it works so much better.
I love that so much, guys. That was liquid gold right there. So that was fantastic. Any last tips or tricks you want to leave anybody with today?
Just be kind to yourself and actually take time to validate yourself and listen rather than just reacting really quickly. Just get curious. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this? What is it I'm feeling? How can I take responsibility here? And how can I validate the other person more?
I love that. And your last point was like right on. You're on the right show. The Own It show. The Own It show is all about owning it and taking full responsibility. And I know that's really hard because in the beginning, when we want to take that full responsibility, then that self-love kind of goes out the window. We start making ourselves bad and wrong, and then we don't get anywhere from there. So it's as an observer. And when I was first started studying at Landmark NLP, one of the great leaders there taught me all great leaders take full responsibility. They ask, how will this land for the other person? How did I participate to create that? And how can I participate to improve it? And we always take full ownership in our interactions, in our business, in our life, in our relationship. Because if we are not, then we've given 50% of our power away.
And or even more. I think for me, just like thinking like, oh, I need someone else to take care of me. I was giving up more than 50% of my power.
Yeah. And doesn't it feel better to have your power bank back?
Yeah, it does. It feels so much better.
I love that. So you heard her. Her final tip was to own it, right? Own it, take full responsibility, and truly own your life. And when we do take that responsibility, then there's no make wrong. And that gives us the power back to make a change, the change of the life that we want to own and living life by design. So the first step, self-love. Right. And as you heard, also healing the physical vehicle that you have to take you through this journey so that journey is way more fun and we can heal our guts so we can tap into our intuition and really open that portal of love so that we are ready and open to receive. Because if not, we're telling the universe we're not ready to receive. We don't believe we're worthy. So the first stop, self-care, self-love, self-worth, self-healing. Then we can be so much better for everybody else.
Yeah, you said it so well.
Thank you. So where can people come and learn more about you? How can they work with you? What have you got going on?
Well, I'm working on building my Facebook group right now, the Hollywood Health Guru. So that's a great place to join and connect with me and have a community of people who are on a similar journey to self-love.
I love that. Absolutely fantastic. So guys, make sure you check that out. We'll have everything you need in the show notes. And remember, stay happy, healthy, wealthy, expect magic and miracles, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.